Deep in the shadows, I know it's hard to put one foot in front of the other.
Hi guys, CeeChronicles here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I post fragrance related content here and in particular Middle Eastern fragrances. So if you like that style of content and you're not yet subscribed, guys, kindly consider subscribing and joining this family. To those who have always supported this channel and are returning, thank you so much for the continued support. I have two Zimayas here that I'm going to do a back-to-back review of. One is Zimaya A La Rose and it's marketed as an extrait de parfum. The second one is A Fairytale, again marketed as an extrait de parfum. I bought these fragrances at the same time and I couldn't wait to smell them because especially of this. All right, now if you have used the Kilian fragrances, you'll know that most of them come with that at the side, and actually the shape of the bottle kind of looks like it's going to be one of those juices that draw inspiration from those fragrances. So we're going to start, guys, with A La Rose, which of course I'm going to assume is going to be centered on the rose note there. I have tested this fragrance on my skin. I'm simply smelling it on the tester paper today because I am wearing my fragrance of the day. Notes prominent in this fragrance, guys, are going to be white florals, which is jasmine and the tuberose, and of course that rose, like a lemony rose, is very evident in this one. So if you do not like rose fragrances, you might find yourself not liking this fragrance. There is also something in here that feels like a fruit, maybe an unripened peach. And I'm saying this because there is a difference between a ripe peach and an unripened one, you know, because the peach tone that I'm getting in this fragrance kind of feels like that I would get from like a sour, you know, style of peach in there. There's also a citrusy weight to this fragrance that is also adding to the sourness, to the bitterness of, you know, the roundup of this DNA. So it presents as an intense lemony rose with a sour roundup of everything coming from the lemon in itself as a single note there. Now, disclaimer, guys, this fragrance has gone around a lot as smelling like that Love Don't Be Shy. I think it was just a mental shortcut or an expectation from most of us, myself included. That is actually the reason why I actually bought this fragrance. I thought it was going to draw its inspiration from that Love Don't Be Shy, but at first spray I knew that this one has absolutely nothing to do with that. Yes, it does feel like it is borrowing from a Kilian, but in this case, you know, that Good Girl Gone Bad. So if you know and have used Good Girl Gone Bad, you will know that it's a complex, musky, floral scent with even a soapy accord coming across as mature, even bitter there. Prominent in also the greenness there. So it's going to have a green theme to it, this one. The florals are actually doing the most and it's going to come across as sour toned. At least to my nose, and I believe maybe that is what a lot of you guys are going to extract. So that is exactly what I get, guys, from this fragrance. Is complex. It's one that you may want to test out. Just because it draws that, you know, inspiration of the Good Girl Gone Bad doesn't necessarily mean that that particular DNA on its own is easy to carry. So I find a DNA in here that is quite complex to carry, and this is not my first interaction with that actual DNA. I remember purchasing Kismet for Women from Maison Alhambra, another DNA that smells a lot like this. So when they dropped Kismet for Women, because I couldn't afford the Good Girl Gone Bad, I ran for it. And I was hoping for fireworks, something in continuation to that Love Don't Be Shy, and that is not what I got. So it is completely the opposite. It's not going to be a fragrance that you will be satisfied with, especially if you buy it expecting a sweet toned fragrance. That is not what you're going to get. You are going to be, you know, bombarded with a host of florals that come across as, you know, having a lemony twist to them, a sour tone to them, a soapiness to them, a muskiness to them there. And weather-wise, this is one that you can carry all year round, but it can potentially be one that maybe even feels better in the cooler weather because it is an acquired one, maybe, you know, for lack of a better word. It's one of those fragrances that's really not trying to be liked. So you'll either love this or you just don't care for it. So yeah, that is what I can say about this one. Feminine toned to an extent, 60%, but 14% of the men can certainly wear this DNA because remember, it does have that lemony wrap up, right? So that is the thing that's going to make this one more wearable by either. It gives me that bitter tone, which, you know, if a fragrance is bitter toned, either gender can wear this. Way in the dry down, it starts to introduce something that kind of feels like it's fresh, maybe coming again from those florals, they start to feel fresh, but that is like maybe 5-6 hours in. So decent lasting power for this, but not enough to call it an extrait. I would qualify this one as an EDP than an extrait, because it is one that, yes, on maybe 10 sprays can potentially last till the next wash, but it's not giving me beastly, like as an outright slap in the face beastly, to qualify as an extrait. So that's my take, guys, on A La Rose from the house of Zimaya. Now let's go straight to the second one, which I have here, which is A Fairytale. All right, so bottle itself is going to tell you that if it's drawing inspiration from the Killians, it's going to be off a black bottle. And what I like about this, guys, in as much as it was a bummer that it was not Love Don't Be Shy, at least that Good Girl Gone Bad is bottled in a white bottle. So it was only after I sprayed it that I was like, oh duh, I should have thought of that, and of course the La Rose, right? So now Fairytale is a fragrance that opens up with a spiciness there. There is patchouli in the mix there. There's also a feel of dried fruits. It's going to be very prominent there in the dried fruits, particularly the dates, if you can extract that, or just raisins, to cut to the chase. And a very evident boozy wrap up to this fragrance. So the booziness is certainly because of the rum. This one does have the rum there, okay? This one has gone around as smelling a lot like Straight to Heaven by Killian. And yes, I do agree that it does smell a lot like Straight to Heaven by Killian, but here's a twist. I have gotten the privilege to smell Tiziana Terenzi's Ursa, all right? And this is one fragrance I'm going to say, if you love that Ursa, go for this fragrance, guys. You won't be missing much. So I don't know who borrowed from who, right? Whether that it was Straight to Heaven and it was a Ursa or vice versa, but what I get simply put in here is a Ursa. When it comes to Straight to Heaven, I do get, the similarities there in there, like an oudi accord, although this one does not list oud. There is something here that feels a little bit oudi, woody. There is even something in here that feels like leather, but the leather is not as pungent as in the Straight to Heaven, but it does kind of match the way the leather interprets in that Ursa. So it is that style of fragrance, guys, and I just wish it had a matching lasting power to this. This lasts longer than this, right? This is a beautifully done fragrance that does have a decent lasting power, but not enough to call it an extrait, unless it does eventually change and then switch up to become an extrait as it concentrates. For now, I'm getting a fragrance that wraps you around like a Middle Eastern style of a fragrance. Aromatic, herbal, even tobacco-ish, that sort of thing. Very complex and artistic, but subtle, right? Because I have used that Ursa, and Ursa is one that you literally have to wash your clothes possibly twice for you to absolutely get rid of that DNA. This is one that you can bathe in, all right? And not that it doesn't have presence. It has presence, but I'm saying if you go for it, based on this review that I'm saying it does vibe a lot like Ursa, don't expect the same performance. More so that it says extrait de parfum. This one as well performs like an EDP, just like the other one. It doesn't give me extrait concentration. If it does change, I will come and let you know. But it's a gorgeous, boozy, spicy scent with those dried fruits, adding like a savory twist to this elegance. There's a patchouli, but the patchouli is not enough to bother me. It just adds like a woody weight to this fragrance. The only con I can say about this fragrance is possibly maybe some people not liking that animalic, like banyadi overall DNA of it. If you have used Ursa and that Straight to Heaven, you will know that it has like an animalic twist to it. So some people don't like such fragrances. That's the only thing I can say is a con. But to me, it's a pro. It's something that I actually absolutely like. I think without missing, this fragrance would not have weight. I think without missing, this fragrance would not be as enjoyable as I enjoy it now. I think without missing, this fragrance wouldn't have fused well, in terms of the mix of that rum and the mix of those dried fruits and what feels like a little bit of some tobacco there. Even incensey to some, but not, outright like in your face incense. This one gives me a DNA that if you are a female and you're not accustomed to a lot of fragrances, I'm going to put it at 20% feminine and 80% masculine, because for me to just come here and say, okay, this is what you're gonna get. It's like a unisex type of fragrance, and you are not experienced, especially when it comes to the niche fragrances. You may find yourself finding it very difficult to carry this fragrance. But if you are, of course, used to a lot of fragrances, and you will not have a problem with this. There are gentle florals in this, guys, so it's not all about just woods and spices. There's gentle florals in this, and of course there is that vanilla, which is going to be a common denominator for those that like fragrances that have the vanilla note. In conclusion, I'm going to say, of the two fragrances, guys, I absolutely love this fragrance. Don't take the 20% feminine thing and run with it and say, okay, my God, it's not wearable. This is totally a fragrance that you could adapt to. Say you have never smelled anything like this. It's got that thing that pulls you in. If you have used Ursa, if you have smelled Straight to Heaven, you will know what I'm talking about in terms of how beautifully done this fragrance is. I'm actually surprised that it goes for the price it goes for. The one that underwhelmed me is this one, and it's not this one only, it's just the actual overall DNA in itself. That Good Girl Gone Bad DNA is not my favorite, so this is probably not going to get much use from me. But this, I would certainly purchase a second bottle, especially if I can get it at the price I did get it for, because I got this one for around $28. So this I would certainly repurchase to have a backup bottle for, because this will prove that it's not all cheapies that don't know what they're doing. So yes, guys, those are my thoughts on these two fragrances. Let me know if you have used them. I would love to interact with you in the comment section. CeeChronicles is my name. Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember to turn on post notifications, guys. That way you get to be notified anytime I upload a video. Like and share this one, and remember that smelling good is a form of good manners. Cheers.